Hello, I am Mac, at least for a day, and everything is going to be okay. I am joined by another No Man's Sky YouTuber today. His channel is called LawOfEvolution. Are you there, Law?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for having me.
Great. I'd like to say that you're a really cool guy from what I've watched of your channel, and I think you have a real unique personality among No Man's Sky YouTubers, and I think that's kind of the fresh talent that we need, because honestly, a lot of the No Man's Sky YouTubers, we're just kind of like, you know, really geeky gaming nerds, and we don't have a lot of people with very unique personality, and it's nice to get some more charismatic and interesting personalities in it, much like L Plays Gaming, who I interviewed, and I predicted that he was going to be pretty big. I'm also predicting that if you stick with No Man's Sky, that you're going to be a pretty big, popular personality on YouTube. That's my prediction anyway. And I like that you've discovered some of the quirks about No Man's Sky. Like, you discovered that when you're flying inside your ship, you're actually just a cockpit, and there is no ship rendered around yourself. And you also recently discovered that storms are localized, meaning there's just like a small sphere of a storm around you, and that the storm isn't taking place over the entire planet and stuff like that. And I think that's really neat that you kind of investigate those little things about the game. But you go ahead and tell us about your channel, and what all kind of videos do you do, like No Man's Sky and other games and such?
Well, my channel is mostly a Let's Play channel. I do a lot of live streams, and most of the videos that I upload are like live stream like highlights and stuff like that come out of the live streams. And my style of videos and streaming is just to kind of change the speed of No Man's Sky. A lot of the other YouTubers and a lot of guys out there, they kind of go at the pace of No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is kind of it's a little bit of a slower pace, kind of, you know, exploration and kind of stuff like that. And I try to change the pace of No Man's Sky to be a little faster, you know. And sometimes I play music, and sometimes I'm just cracking jokes and just trying to change the speed to kind of give people a different view, a different look at what No Man's Sky can be. And so I attempt to do that in various different ways. I've only been doing this for about a year, and so to hear the compliments that you give me and the support that I get from the community is huge. So I appreciate that immensely.
Great. It's funny that you say you're mostly a Let's Play channel, because your first videos that I watched that I really liked were kind of more the short discussion videos, which you edited real well. I think you did a video talking about, was it Call of Duty, and like how their newer games were changing to like fit with Fortnite sort of thing. And then your other videos on discussing different topics on No Man's Sky were all really good too. So so you do some other types of videos besides just playing the game, right? You do some kind of discussion topics.
Yeah, I do discussion topics. When I did the Fortnite video, it was more of me trying a different formula of videos. I generally don't have a script. I generally don't write things down, no bullet points or anything. I just usually go for it. I just kind of push record and talk. With the Fortnite thing and the other types of videos that I've done, I was really trying a different formula to kind of gauge how that would how the community would react to it. And it's come out pretty well. I'm not sure if that's a formula that I'll kind of move forward with, but I just kind of wanted to kind of test the waters and see how it would all go out. But I did get my start just kind of doing edits and doing kind of the silent edits without any commentary and stuff like that. So I got my editing, kind of my editing skills from doing it like that. But I was trying a different formula to kind of see how it worked out.
Oh, cool. Okay. I'd like to move on to talk about, now of course we have the No Man's Sky next update coming up, and at the beginning of this new Waking Titan that we're having, we got the Atlas level 4 passes, and there's a code on the front of those passes that translates to the word Phoenix. And the way things have been going with Sean Murray doing an interview with Xbox Live and all this new box art and stuff that we're seeing, and how it seems like it's going to be a really major update to No Man's Sky, I think that Hello Games is trying to attempt a Phoenix moment, a kind of a redo in a way, in which they re-release the game. They try to rebrand themselves as not the horrible failure that sadly a large majority of the gaming community still thinks that No Man's Sky was, and to try to have this really good launch and change to No Man's Sky that will maybe undo the negativity of the past and improve their standing in the gaming community again. So my question is, do you think that's possible? Is it possible, with how much negativity and memes and everything and bad reputation there is surrounding No Man's Sky, can an actual Phoenix moment happen that undoes most of the bad reputation and makes No Man's Sky, at least a larger majority of people, think that it's a successful game? Or is that not really possible? What do you think?
Well, I believe that Phoenix moment is definitely possible. But I think that the No Man's Sky Next and the Xbox release is going to have to go impeccably. I think if this Phoenix moment is going to happen, we're going to need to see these Xbox players give great reviews. We're going to have to see them enjoying the game, giving great feedback. The features in No Man's Sky Next are going to have to be mind-blowing. I'm convinced that they will be, and the majority of the community are convinced that they will be. But the Phoenix moment is all going to hang on the success of the Xbox release. And once that happens, once all the Xboxers start giving their reviews and start coming out and saying, man, this is excellent, what were you guys mad at? And this feature and that feature. And once all the channels start popping up from Xbox people kind of falling in love with the game, I think that'll wipe out a lot of the negativity. And it's still there. I mean, every time, like L Plays drop the video and it's 300,000+ views, and you still see the negativity in the comments and you see stuff here and there. But I really believe that if everything goes according to plan, if Sean Murray gets exactly what he wants with this Xbox release, that the Phoenix moment is inevitable. Now, do I think it'll ever get back to the point where, pre-release, where there were millions and millions of people that were like super excited for it, and I don't know if we'll get back to that point, but I don't know if that we need to. All that we need is just for this No Man's Sky Next to be what we know it will be, and the Phoenix will rise. So
yeah. One of my main concerns is that it turns out to be really buggy. Thankfully they've been playtesting it for 6 months, but I do see a possible scenario in which the multiplayer goes up. They've been testing the multiplayer, but obviously they haven't tested it when there's 1,000 some players playing. And typically when a No Man's Sky update goes up, at least when Atlas Rises went up, there was about 8,000 people playing on Steam. So that's not an insane amount, but obviously No Man's Sky hasn't tested that large number of people trying to play multiplayer all at the same time. So there's always that possibility that the servers won't work, the multiplayer system won't work with that many people, or there'll be bugs, or something like that might happen that would cause, you know, negative reviews early on, where people saying, "Wait, oh, they say they added multiplayer, but it didn't work. I couldn't find anybody," or whatever. And of course, we don't know how it's going to work exactly. We hope there's going to be some kind of, I'm speaking mainly about multiplayer, there'll be some kind of party building system. It would be concerning if they tried to rely solely on portals, because right now, although portals can make it pretty easy to get to another player, that's only after you've collected the portal glyphs. And I know you know from personal experience, live streaming just recently, it can be pretty frustrating finding those travelers and getting those portal glyphs. So if they're going to rely on portals to get players together to be able to play multiplayer, I mean, that can take weeks to months to get the portal glyphs, depending on how lucky you are. People are not, when an Xbox player boots it up thinking there's going to be multiplayer and then they can't get to anybody, that's going to be bad. Now, it's possible that they'll have some new system, which I'm hoping for, that like you can party up with people and then you can use the Terminus portal to travel straight to them or something like that. But unless they've made multiplayer accessible like that, a lot of people are probably going to say, well, I can't actually find anybody. How can there be multiplayer if I can't find anyone, you know? That's just some of my thoughts. What do you think about all that?
Well, a couple things. I think that without a doubt, especially learning our lesson from previous updates from No Man's Sky, that there are going to be bugs. There are going to be bugs. There's going to be glitches. There are going to be things like that. But one thing that we can be confident of with Hello Games is that they attack those things. They go right after them, and it's not going to take any time at all for them. You know, we're going to find the glitches. We're going to find the bugs, and they're going to fix them very, very quickly. I mean, just in a matter of a week or two or something like that. So, I mean, that's just the nature of gaming. I mean, we're going to find the glitches, especially like you said, thousands of people playing. We're going to find the things that Hello Games didn't find. And but that's one thing that we can be sure of, is that they're going to do their due diligence to make sure that those glitches and those things aren't going to move forward with the game. They're going to take care of it. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to implement the multiplayer. I mean, when No Man's Sky launched for PS4, we had people finding each other on day one. I mean, they were immediately finding each other and live streaming together and showing that, you know, this was or wasn't possible. And so I think the same thing is going to happen with Xbox. They're going to fire up their game. They're going to be just as intuitive as the PS4 guys, and they're going to be in the same spot. It's going to happen very, very, very quickly. Overall, as far as the majority of the community, it might, I can see how that would be difficult with finding the glyphs and linking up with your friend and stuff like that. So that's where the big questions kind of fall into place for me. How are they going to implement the party system? How are they going to make it easier for us to find each other so we can take advantage of this whole multiplayer thing? And like I said, I don't think it's going to be hard. People are going to find each other immediately. But just like you're saying, I mean, how are we gonna do this party system? How is that gonna work to kind of get the ultimate fulfillment out of multiplayer? So I mean, those questions I think are still in the air, and we can probably postulate on how that's possible. But without a doubt, we're gonna be surprised. They're gonna do something as far as the implementation of multiplayer that's gonna surprise us, and I'm just eager to see what that's gonna be. You know?
Yeah. And my other concern is just people giving the game a chance again, because even now to this day, after 3 major updates, there are people that still say that they'll never give No Man's Sky another chance, just because of how bad the launch was, and that Sean, quote unquote, lied, that, you know, they would never, just on principle, they would never do it again, in order to basically teach game developers a lesson about not telling the truth or whatever. And like you said, it is reliant on good reviews from Xbox players, that if they say enough good things about it, people might start to give the game a chance again. But yeah, that remains to be seen. We don't know how well July 24th is going to go and the next few days after that, because, you know, but there is hope, I think. And I mean, I think the next update is only going to be a positive. I don't think it's not going to make things worse. I mean, some might think that that's a possibility, that it could be another horrible flop again, but I don't think it will. I think Hello Games and Sean Murray are confident enough in what they've got right now that they know that this is going to go well enough, and that we can trust that it's not going to be like, you know, August of 2016. It's going to be a lot better than that.
Oh,
you
yeah,
agree?
I definitely believe it's going to be a lot better than that. They're not going to fall. I mean, I believe they learned their lesson. We don't hear a lot from Hello Games about the launch. I mean, they kind of talk about it here and there really lightly. But I think they learned a huge lesson, and we're not going to see another 2016 with No Man's Sky next. So yeah, I'm just excited. I'm super excited to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, me too. Now, I guess we ought to talk a little bit about ringed planets, because that is the newest thing that we just got yesterday. I watched your video that you did about ringed planets, the announcement. You did do one, right? I thought everybody...
I haven't done one yet.
Oh, you haven't yet. I'm sorry. Just about everybody seems to be doing one, so I couldn't remember if you did one yet or not. But give me your thoughts about ringed planets. Do you think they're just going to be for show, or are they going to be something useful, and what will they really add to the game?
I really feel like ringed planets, I think that they took an example from the modding community. They've been really good at listening to the community, paying attention to what's going on, and they've said that openly, that they're paying attention to the community, they see what's happening. And I believe that the modding community, especially what Rayrod has done, they've been paying attention to it. They've been looking at that, and I believe that they're going to implement it better. I think they're going to give us something a little bit better than what we saw with ringed planets and mods. So my thoughts on it are, it's not just going to be this static kind of graphic where it's just, oh, there's rings for the sake of being rings, you know. I believe that they're going to be asteroids or small kind of particles. Maybe when you close in on the rings, that you'll be able to see that it's kind of made up of kind of smaller chunks or smaller materials or something. That's kind of what I hope. And that's something that's different than what the mods brought us. The mods brought us something that was a little more static. And I think that Hello Games put more time into it, put more effort into it. And I don't think they're giving us rings for the sake of them just being rings. They might be a little more dynamic than that.
Yep. Yeah, that's been my thoughts, is that they'll probably be more functional, that there'll be asteroid belts that we could mine or something like that. But I am one that I've been hearing people asking for ringed planets for a long time, and that was one feature that I kind of rolled my eyes about when people were saying that in my live stream and stuff like that, because I would always ask them, well, what would that actually add to the game? And it's kind of like planet rotation as well. Planet rotation is another one that people keep saying, we've got to have planet rotation, we've got to have planet rotation. And I always keep saying, what would planet rotation add to the game? And people always say, well, it'd be so much more realistic. And I'm thinking, how does being realistic for realistic's sake make it a better game, though? Just because ringed planets exist, how does that improve gameplay? Just because planets rotate in real life, how does that improve gameplay? In a way, it's kind of easier to get from planet to planet since there's no planet rotation, because the planets you're trying to get to are always in the same place and you never get confused by them moving. Obviously, it's not very realistic, but functionally it works pretty well, and I don't really see how planet rotation would add to anything, but that's just me. And the same goes for ringed planets, that it may add some kind of gameplay thing like mining asteroids and such, but I mean, honestly, I have always said that planet surfaces are a lot more important. We need planets to look like they did in E3, the E3 trailers and such. We don't need ring planets as much as we need vastly improved planets, and it's possible that that's coming too, that we're going to have much better things on planets as well. But I've always been one that criticized all of the people saying we need multiplayer, we need ring planets, we need planet rotation, when I'm of the opinion that that kind of distracts from what we really need, which is planet variation. But man, I've been sounding so negative lately. I'm not trying to be, but that's just kind of my thoughts on all of it. So what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think you're being negative at all. I think it's just realism, you know. Really, what would it bring? What would those types of things bring to it? And I remember that conversation about not only the rotating planet itself, but the planets kind of rotating around the sun. And the same conversation came about. It was like, well, okay, well, if the planet rotates around the sun, like, what is that going to do for us? You know, and Hello Games, I remember when they were saying, you know, they were like, well, the planets are so close together, you know, you warp into a system and you can see all 5 or 6 planets right in front of you. And they said, well, you know, we made it like this to make sure that, you know, you didn't have to fly 5 or 10 minutes to the next planet, and just everything's kind of close to you to kind of enhance the gameplay experience. And I'm just like you. I'm kind of at odds a little bit about adding things just for the sake of adding them. And, you know, I do understand the whole thing with immersion, and a rotating planet would just add immersion, and a planet rotating around the sun would just add immersion. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. The more you give me, the more I'm happy to take it. But just like the question you're posing, I mean, if you give that to us, what is it really going to bring? What is it going to add to the game? And I'm under the impression that they're not just going to do it for the sake of doing it. They're going to give us some sort of gameplay mechanic tied to it to kind of make these things kind of really work, you know. And one thing is for sure, that, you know, they always, with every single update that Hello Games gives us, we always get that big ticket item. You know, they always give us the big ticket item. We get base building, and we're like, oh my god, we're so excited about base building. But so many things came along with that we were blown away by it. And then, you know, you go into another update, and you know, they give you exocraft, and they give you, you know, this and base sharing and all of this cool stuff. But so many other things came along with it that were blown back by it. And I feel like No Man's Sky Next is going to be the exact same deal. You know, they're giving us multiplayer. Everybody's excited about multiplayer, but there's so much more that's going to come with that package that we're just completely unaware of. Like we didn't even think about that. They're like, oh, I wasn't even thinking about that, but they gave it to us. And so we think about these big ticket items, and I just feel like that so much more is going to come of it. Maybe it might be rotating planets. Maybe it will be additional exotic worlds and more biomes and stuff like that. But we're going to get something else. We're going to get something else that we weren't even wishing for or weren't even asking for. but didn't know that we want it, and Hello Games is going to give it to us. So it's you know, I do understand. I understand exactly where you're coming from. And like I said, I don't think it's negativity at all. I've kept an eye on your channel. I see what you're doing, and you love the game just as much as I do, or just as much as L plays or Cobra, or anybody else. So we're just trying to, and I kind of get the sense of this with you, that you're a little bit reserved. And I think that's because you learned your lesson, just like everybody else in the community learned their lesson. So we're just kind of being a little bit reserved, trying to draw back the excitement just a tad, in hopes that everything really goes well and goes according to plan. So hopefully, you know, here's to the future. Hopefully everything goes exactly how Hello Games wants it.
Yep, and in that same vein of keeping expectations in check, do you think No Man's Sky is going to be at E3 like tomorrow at the Microsoft conference?
Yeah, I want No Man's Sky to be at E3. I pray that No Man's Sky is at E3. I would love to see Sean Murray walk out on the stage with a controller in his hand. I would like to see that. I don't really think it's going to happen though. And I think that's part of what we were just speaking about them learning their lesson. I think that Sean Murray and Hello Games kind of want No Man's Sky to speak for itself. They kind of want to put it out there, tell you everything that's possible, to show you gameplay, show you this, show you that, but kind of stay a little bit separated from those same things that might have got him in trouble before, you know. Yeah. So it's my hopes that they do E3. It's my hopes that he walks out there with a controller and his beautiful beard, but I just really don't think that it'll happen, you know.
Yeah, I definitely don't think anyone from Hello Games is going to be there, because well, I've looked at lists of E3 that like lists all the companies that are going to be there. I didn't see Hello Games, so I don't think they're sending anybody. I mean, you know, they could always surprise us, I guess. But we do know 505 Games is there, and of course Microsoft, Xbox, all that. So no, I don't think Hello Games is going to be there at all, but I do think it's possible they might mention No Man's Sky. To what degree, I don't know. I kind of doubt that we're going to get like a full-fledged trailer. Obviously, people really want that, but I don't think it's going to be anything that major. In fact, I'm even starting to lean towards, I think there might not be No Man's Sky on there at all. I and others have been clinging to this June 10th clue that we got in Waking Titan, but that was used to point out Sacramento as a puzzle answer. And because Sacramento was supposedly where the laboratory was that we had to locate or whatever. So it may have just been a puzzle solution. It wasn't actually hinting about E3. It might just have been a coincidence. But yeah, so I'm starting to lean towards there might not be anything at all at E3, but I'm still going to watch the Microsoft live stream of Microsoft conference and all that to see if anything happens, but I don't want to get my expectations too much, and I've kind of been telling people on my live streams not to get too excited because it might not be something like that. But anyway, I guess we'll have to wait and see tomorrow. But let's see. Last thing, what are you hoping for in next, personally?
Personally, the biggest thing that I'm hoping for in next is intergalactic travel. My biggest dream is that we have the ability to move between galaxies. I think the biggest reason why everybody is kind of not leaving the Euclid galaxy is because they're just kind of scared they won't be able to get back. You know, everybody's on these launch day saves, or saves that they've spent, you know, hundreds of hours on, thousands of hours in a lot of cases, and they're just kind of afraid to leave because they don't think they'll be able to get back to their hub or their, you know, or their friends who never will leave the Euclid, you know. And I believe intergalactic travel will open up all 256 galaxies. You know, you'll immediately will start to see people, you know, go out on these expeditions, you know, like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna leave the hub for a while. I'll be back, guys. I'll be back, but I'm gonna leave the hub for a while. I'm gonna go out as many galaxies as I can, find some really cool stuff, find some awesome planets, take some screenshots, you know, do all the stuff that we love doing, and come back. You know, whenever I'm ready, I'll come back. And how they would implement that, I'm not exactly sure. If some of those exotic worlds have those really huge, you know, kind of like those circular portals. They're not portals, but there's kind of like circular mechanical type of structures.
Yeah,
and
they're called boundary failures.
Boundary failures, that would be awesome. I think that maybe, you know, you could fly your starship through it. You know, it's large enough that maybe if you activate it or something like that, you could fly a ship through it, and that would allow you to kind of traverse galaxies or something like that. And that's just kind of me spitballing, but intergalactic travel was on the top of my list. I mean, a lot of people that went on to Hilbert or they're in Isotime or something like that, I think a lot of them are just kind of hanging out there because they can't go elsewhere, you know. And if they could get back to Hilbert or back to the Euclid, that they would do that. And so that's my biggest thing right now. And I think it's the biggest thing for me only because I'm in the Hilbert right now. And I went through the center after being at the center of the Euclid I was there for about 14 months. And it was just kind of time for a change. I was like, I think it's kind of time for me to move around a little bit. I've been in this patch of space for a long time. And so I went through the center, and when I did it, I immediately regretted it, Mac. I immediately regretted it. I was like, what did I just do? And so it's been on the top of my list ever since. Intergalactic travel and the ability to traverse galaxies is kind of, I really think it will open up every single galaxy, and it would kind of send people kind of flying out in every single direction because they're no longer afraid that they wouldn't be able to get back.
Yep, and that's actually one of my biggest wishes too, is to be able to travel between galaxies. And I do think the boundary failures, the ring buildings you talked about, is a very strong possibility, because when you go to the end of the Atlas Rises storyline, I'm sorry if this is a spoiler for people, you're given a choice of 4 galaxies to choose between. And on when you select those little objects, the galaxies, it says boundary failure on them. So things that let you go to choose a different galaxy is called a boundary failure, and that's the same thing that the rings are called. The rings are called boundary failures. So basically, different galaxies in No Man's Sky are different realities, different versions of the same galaxy. It's a multiverse. And there's this boundary between these different realities. And so these boundary failures are ways of going to different galaxies, I think, because that's what the little galaxies you choose at the end of Atlas Rises are called, and that's what the rings are called. So I think that's what... And when you interact with those rings, it says a terminal blinks awaiting input. But you don't actually input anything into it currently. You just get lore from it. But if they would allow us to input something on that terminal, to like choose a galaxy we've previously been to, and then it would open up the portal, we could fly our ship through it or whatever, that would make a lot of sense. And I think that would be ideal. You kind of said they would open up all 256 galaxies. I don't think they would make it so that we could go to anyone we want at will, but I do think that they would still require us to go to the center of a galaxy in order to go to the next one. But once you've been to another galaxy, you would be able to travel back to any galaxy you've previously been to. So there'd still be this goal of going through the center of galaxies to go to new galaxies, but then you'd be able to go back to previous ones. But that's just my wish. That's what I wish that they would do. Because especially if they're adding multiplayer, it makes it pretty much pointless to ever leave Euclid Galaxy. Because if you want to play multiplayer, you're going to have to stay in that first galaxy. That's the only place that you're going to have a reliable way to meet up with other players. So with the introduction of multiplayer, I think the one-way trip in through galactic centers needs to stop because it no longer serves any purpose. The only people that would ever go to the next galaxy are people that hate multiplayer and never want to interact with other people again. So, and that's, I mean, there are people like that only want to solo play, but I mean, I'm a solo player, but I still like to interact with people sometimes, so I can't leave Euclid because that would get rid of all possibility of ever interacting with people again. So, yeah, that's my biggest desire too, and I just kind of basically said the same thing as you, but yeah, that and planet variety are the two main things that I want. So anyway, do you have any last thoughts you want to talk about before we go?
Well, as far as my last thoughts, it's pretty much just to harp on kind of what we already discussed. I'm really, really, really hoping for an excellent Xbox release of No Man's Sky next. I'm really under the impression that it's going to go very well. I know it's going to go very well. We just have to really just kind of be wary of those, PC guys and PS4 guys that no longer, like you said, they don't want to touch No Man's Sky with a 10-foot pole anymore. But this release of No Man's Sky on Xbox really, I mean, the future of No Man's Sky really hangs on this. It really, and I hate to kind of bottle it up like that. I mean, we're going to love the game no matter what, regardless if it came out on an Xbox or not. But I really think that the future of No Man's Sky overall kind of really hangs on how they release this on Xbox. I know it's going to be received well. No Man's Sky is an acquired taste. If you love cosmology, if you love space exploration, sci-fi book covers, and if you love all of that science and technology, if you love that, you're going to love No Man's Sky. There's just absolutely no doubt about it. Yeah. But it's just, I just really believe that I want Hello Games to be successful. I want Hello Games to make tons and bucket loads of money, and the only way that that's possible is if they really attack this Xbox release and make it as great as possible. And I think it will be. I think it's going to be absolutely excellent, and hopefully, and I have an Xbox as well, so I'm like, okay, well, if it goes well, I'm just gonna buy it on Xbox. So, but everything kind of hangs on this Xbox release, and it's my ultimate hope that it just goes really, really, really well.
Yep. And I'd really like to encourage everybody to check out Law of Evolution's YouTube channel. Like I've said, he makes really good videos and live streams of No Man's Sky and other games. So please check him out. And thanks a lot for joining me today, Law. And so I have been Mac, and this has been Law of Evolution. Thank you for joining us for a day. And remember, everything is going to be okay.